Hey guys, we're live today with Justine Lambert. Welcome,
French
Justine.
way.
I'm so happy to have you here over there with us to speak about community techniques and tactics and strategy. And today, Justine, I'm so happy that you are here because we will talk about collective intelligence and facilitation for community builders.
Yes.
You will explain and share with us some great techniques to leverage collective intelligence with your members, because you use and you master the co-development technique. You will explain that with us. But first, maybe you can share with us 2 words about you. Who do you come from? Why are you building a community right now? Just to know a little bit more you.
Yes, for sure. Well, thanks for having me, Alex, first of all. So my name is Justine Lambert. You say it French way, I'm going to say it American way, because otherwise Justine Lambert, they usually don't get me. So I am a former account planner. I used to work in advertising. I was doing that for 7 years. I worked for 5 years in New York, and then I moved back to Paris 3 years ago in order to be an entrepreneur, because I couldn't do it in the US because of visa mainly. And I launched the business we're going to talk about tonight, which is called Brains with Benefits. I launched it 11 months ago, almost a year ago, in the middle of the first lockdown.
Wow.
Yes, in the middle of the first lockdown in the pandemic, because why make things easy when they could be complicated? So I created an idea which is called Brains with Benefits, which answers the loneliness of entrepreneurs, because I personally suffered from it. And I'm doing that by uniting complementary brains so that they have counterparts and other entrepreneurs they can share their business challenges with, and they can have answers to their questions. But I'm going to explain that in more detail. But that's basically my story.
Yeah, it's mainly a group of peers, of solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and you let them matchmake together through a workshop, a remote workshop that you practice every week, maybe. I don't know.
It's every 2 weeks. So what we're doing is brainstorming sessions. It is using a methodology that is called co-development. So it's usually used by coaches and like psychologists, but it's also now pretty common within the entrepreneur realm. So basically, I am a matchmaker. I'm meeting with the solopreneurs and freelancers before, and I'm really trying to understand who they are, what their business is about, what their strengths are in terms of like skills and mindsets, and also what their points of improvements are. And then I'm doing some like matchmaking. So there is no app, there is no algorithm. I'm the app. And I spend time in order to like know them. And then I am creating like tailored working groups with complementary brains. So basically you'll never have 5 people that are good at marketing in the same group, because we're all formatted the same way. Like we tend to think the same. But I will have in a group like someone who's good at marketing, someone who's good at finances, someone who's good at like product development, like all the skills that you used to have when you were like, you know, in a corporate environment and you have different departments, and you can benefit from the skills of your coworkers that you cannot benefit from anymore when you're a solopreneur working on your own. So it's like matchmaking first, and then I'm facilitating these brainstorming sessions every 2 weeks. And it's always the same people in the groups, because the shorter subscription is a 3 months subscription. So they don't have to say every single time they meet, hi, this is Alex, my business is blah, blah, blah. Like they know the group, and they're already very familiar with other people's businesses. So they're really like ready to go and ready to help. And I'm working with them prior to the session in order to help them formulate their business challenge so that it is helpful for them, yet interesting and sexy for the other people in the group. And they will feel enticed to like participate and help that person because like it will be like an interesting title and like an interesting way of like putting things together. And it could help them as well in the future because you never know what problem you're going to have as an entrepreneur. You know you're going to have problems. You're not sure when you're going to have them and what type of problems you're going to have. But apart from that.
Exactly. And just maybe to deep dive into this co-development workshop, basically, stop me if I am wrong, but the goal is to let a member share a challenge, okay, maybe during 5-10 minutes, and then he has to mute itself. He has to mute and to don't share anything more because you let the other speaking each other and brainstorm, and the one who shares a problem has just to mute and
they can talk.
Yeah.
So
they can talk. You make them talk. Okay.
Yes, but so it's like, so I'm the facilitator. I'm like an how can I say that? A conductor, you know, like in music. So I kind of see
facilitator.
Who can talk when. So basically, so there is the official co-development methodology, but then I also made it my own. So I like tweaked a few things. So usually during the brainstorming session of Brings with Benefits, it's a total of like 2 hours and 15 minutes. We start with like how is everyone's doing? How is everyone's business doing? Because that's what we care about. It's really like business focus. It's not like, you know, like personal development and like life in general. It's very, very
you make a review. You make a review before deep dive into the workshop. Okay.
So like everyone
clever.
Gets, you know, to have like a bit of time with like-minded individuals who also are business owners. So like it's 5 minutes and like everyone can say like, this is how I'm doing. This is like where my business is at. And this is how I feel, because like, it's nice to have counterparts to share that with. Other than that, sharing that with your family or significant other who may not be entrepreneurs. So it's nice to have someone who will understand your struggle and why you don't sleep at nights and all that amazing things.
Yeah.
All these amazing things. And then, so during each session, so the entrepreneur who shared the issue that specific day has 5 minutes to explain the context and the background and why is this an issue now and why, basically, like, why is that an annoying point right now and the type of help he's hoping to get. So there is like this like background presentation for 5 minutes. Then the first part of the brainstorming session, the entrepreneur in the group are asking a ton of questions. They're firing the question.
And there is a middle step. Yeah, they have the right to ask questions
to make sure to like make sure they understood everything and they have all the information that will inform their later recommendation. So they do that for like, let's say 15-20 minutes, and the entrepreneur has the right and the opportunity to answer, but has to be like quick answers, because really what you want to do there is receive as many questions as possible, because a lot of things will like bubble up and surface, because usually when you think your problem is there, like the real issue is usually there, but like the more questions you get, the more the more crap gets out of you and the real issue gets out, which is what you want to get. So the entrepreneur gets to answer really fast, and then you have this person has a couple of minutes to rephrase the issue if they feel they have the need to do that. Because after all the questions you receive, sometimes you're like, okay, you know what? Like I asked you this question, but maybe my exact like challenge is maybe more closer to that. So they get that they get that opportunity of rephrase if they need. But because I work on the topic with them before the session, I would say they rephrase like maybe 20% of the time. So it's not that common that they have to rephrase. And then the second part of the brainstorming session, then the group share the recommendations, either based on their experience as business owners or their knowledge, as like, people who used to be in like whatever fields they were before being entrepreneur, or just what they believe in. Maybe they like read books or listen to podcasts and they like, like have very strong beliefs. So they can share experience or beliefs or just pure knowledge. And at the very end of it, the entrepreneur gets to say, okay, thank you guys. This is everything I learned. And I'm maybe going to start using this recommendation, and this recommendation. So it gives us idea about how we help the person. And it's so nice to see the person is motivated, boosted, and has some like actual, like,
tangible answers. Yeah.
Yeah, and like next steps. Okay, this is where I'm doing what I'm doing. And then at the end of it, the person gets the recording because they don't have to make notes during the meeting. And they also get some like notes so that like they can, go back to their notes and see, okay, these were all the mindset advice I got. These were all the marketing advice I got. And I also share that with the whole community. So even though they were not in that specific brainstorming session, they get
make a huge work. It's a huge work from you to digest.
I have a little bit of help. I have my intern. She's an alternante, which is like a specific type of intern in France. And so she's the one making notes, which is priceless. And like, I feel extremely lucky. She's an amazing person to work with.
Yeah, great. And how do you make to let them, each member, to get on the hot seat? Because how many you have 50? How many members do you have in Brains with Benefits?
So I have right now 35 clients, and 25 of them are within my working groups. So I have 3 working groups in French, 1 in English. But again, we're meeting once every 2 weeks. And then the rest of the time, they're all connected to each other on a platform that is called Circle. It's like similar to Slack. It's just more visual and like a little more fun to interact with. And so, yes, per group, it's a maximum of 9 people. And the reason why I like cap to 9 people is like with small group, they get to know each other pretty fast. And because the shorter subscription time is 3 months, they get to share their very own issue at least twice within their subscription. So that means, Alex, if you subscribe right now in between April, May, and June, your topic, your business challenge will be worked on by the group at least twice, because it's an hour per entrepreneur. And then we get to meet every 2 weeks. So with a small group of people, they all are able to experience the hot seat, as you just called it. But that only works with a small group of people. And I facilitate all the groups right now. But at some point, there will be some other people facilitating the sessions as well. I'm only going to keep 4 working groups because, as you said before, it's a lot of work. But I love it. So.
And how do you choose your topics? Maybe there is no topics around your groups. Maybe it's open. How do you curate your own workshop?
So the good thing is like entrepreneurs always have questions. So like my sweet target is entrepreneurs that have at least 10 months of experience within their business. That means they're not like thinking about what idea I could launch. They're already how I could, develop my business and get clients and get people to like, I don't know, be brand ambassador and all of that.
It's about growth. Okay.
It's really about growth and development. Some of them are like a little less advanced, but if they were extremely specialized in like a business skill from their before life, then like their value is super strong. So I still want them in my group. So I'm really recruiting and I'm like really selective about my clients. I'm lucky enough that I get to choose the clients. So because it doesn't work for everyone. Like you have to be, like business oriented, at least a little bit. And you have to have that right mindset, which is you want your project, you want your idea and your brand to grow, but you're also here to make sure other people's brands are growing as well. It's not like self-centered. It's not like, oh, I only show up when the topic is interesting to me. It's really like collective intelligence and making sure everyone's business grow as a group. So you'll get some help at some point on your idea and on your brand, but the other sessions will be for others. So it's really like people have that specific mindset. And that's really how I recruit people, because I want them to have a business,
a perfect
a business idea, and really the right mindset. And that's what makes the recruiting interesting for me and really specific. So to answer your question, because I feel I went a little further from the question, which was how I choose the topic. So every business owner has questions, because for me, if you don't have questions or challenges, you don't have a business. For me, it's impossible. You have a business, you have questions. Otherwise, there's a serious issue, I think. So, for instance, in my next group, which is les gros cerveaux, so big brains in French, if I back translate. So with that group, which is meeting on Monday, I said, okay, it's been a long time. Thibaut and Quentin didn't share their issue. Do you guys have issue right now? The answer was hell yes. We need help from the others. So spend time with them on the phone, ask them a lot of questions, and we come up with some challenge that is phrased in a way that is helpful to them and interesting to the other people of the group. So to give you an example, some of my sessions where do you have to focus on a few services when you're known as a Swiss knife freelancer, which I think is the session you attended, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And then the second one, to give you another example, would be, do you have to start small when you have a big strategy in your head for the company you're about to launch? So again, this was something in the head of the entrepreneur. I just helped them formulate it. And I have a list right now on LinkedIn where I just write down all the topics we went through. And in 11 months, we worked on and solved 105 topics. So it was pretty intense in terms of facilitation.
Congrats. Yeah.
But so much, it's so much, I feel like I always learn, even though I may not have that specific issue on my business right now, it will always trigger something in my mind. And I'm like, oh, I could do this. Or the next time I encounter something that's similar, I'm like, oh no, we worked on that. And these were some of the recommendations. So I feel like I'm always learning, which was my first business that I launched. So I'm still on that. I mean, personally, but other entrepreneurs as well, they're all always learning, and it may not be an issue they encounter right now, but they know maybe in the next few weeks, they'll be and I'm exactly there. So it's always on in terms of learning and just being open-minded. And I mean, obviously not objective, awesome.
Yeah. But about the mindset to have to be okay to share something with the other, to be paid forward, the spirits, to about those guidelines. Do you need to make some heavy pedagogy, or it's okay that people get it and you deep dive into the workshop? So how much the effort do you need to have the perfect fit on this workshop?
It's a great question. So the tricky part about my business is my clients also are my products. Let me explain that. So what I'm selling is chemistry within a working group, and I'm doing matchmaking, and I'm, creating these tailored working groups. So I really almost expect from my client a specific behavior, because they will become the experience and other people will subscribe to be part of that group, to be part of that experience. So I have to say 80% comes from recruiting the right people and just spending time with them before and telling them about my brand and just being super careful about the type of question they ask. I had once or twice someone asking oh, but do I have to come to all the sessions even though it's not my turn? That's such a red flag for me, because I'm when I hear that question, I'm okay, the person is not in the right mindset for sure. I mean, obviously it's not oh, you ask the question, you're out. I do some pedagogy and then explain all of that, but usually, and because I feel I'm super, I'm super detailed on social media about why I'm doing things, I feel I tend to, how can I say that? the people who come to me are already in the right mindset. And if not, the fact that I spend time during that interview is, the 80% of the effort. And then during the session, I had to I explain how it works, and people have to share their point of view, but being careful about the time, because we all get to share the same amount of time. So this is where, I would say this when the 20% comes into play. So I have sometimes to remind them, okay, you spoke quite a lot, so you don't mind putting the rest of the recommendation within the chat. And that's, I have to do it. I'm the facilitator, I'm the conductor. I have to take that responsibility. But I never had an issue about people not being, well-intended or being harsh in their point of view. That was never really an issue. The main issue I would say is making sure they don't speak too much, because we like to speak. And especially entrepreneur, you get so much feedback, so much unsolicited feedback all the time from people wishing they would be entrepreneur and giving you just feedback without you asking for it. So whenever entrepreneur have the opportunity to give feedback to someone, it's an avenue of feedback. So that's and just I have to remind them sometimes that they have to pay attention to the way they say things, because when you share a business issue, I always say it's almost, you can feel somehow naked, because when you have a business issue, it's you share who you are as a human. And I would say 90% of the business issues are very tied to some not psychological issue, but some, I don't know, maybe you're afraid of
non-business related.
It's very linked to psychology. I don't know how to say that in a way that sounds normal in English. Basically, my point is when they give feedback, I sometimes have to ask them to say it in the way they would want to hear it. Just being cognizant of the fact that, it's personal when you share a business issue, and you can be very vulnerable, saying this is where I feel stuck or blocked or whatever. So that's the only thing that I keep in mind, but that I remind them, I would say. But I never really had an issue with that. I feel people get it, and I'm pretty good at repeating things. So in case they miss it the first time, they definitely do not miss it the second time. My nickname is Monica, in Friends. Do you know this show, the TV show Friends? Do you know Monica?
No, I don't know the show.
Well, I'm sure you do. Friends. With
Monica.
Friends.
In Friends, there's the character.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm Monica because I'm always with my watch, and I'm really not strict, but I'm giving very strict guidelines. So the nickname they gave me was Monica. So I'm pretty good at reminding.
Yes, you're maniac. You're the maniac one. Okay, so
a little bit.
Great. And do you spend some time after the workshop to work on the? I know that you make the digest and everything, but is it an important part of your work? The after show, the after workshop. You share something in a WhatsApp group. I saw you do some kind of stuff on WhatsApp. So how do you deal the after workshop?
So I would say all the communication is on Circle, which is where the whole community is interacting with each other. So step number one is sending the recording and the recap. And I usually check on the entrepreneurs to make sure they feel good about it and they feel like they got the right amount of help. And what I am creating right now as an additional service is, because for some of them, they get all the recommendation and then they're like, okay, now I just have to. So I'm coming up with a new offering, which will be basically make sure that the selected recommendation you receive, you can, just apply them and put them into place and all of that. So it's going to be a call with them to make sure they have what they need. And if they need some help from some experts that I have in the community, for instance, after a brainstorming session, if you identify you need help from a marketer and maybe someone who's really good at I don't know, positive psychology, I just made that up. I'll be like calling them and say, okay, so these are the recommendations you chose. Do you need me to put you in touch with X amount of experts that I have within the community? And if they say yes, then I like set up the next meeting so that not only they were inspired and like got the got recommendation, they can also just go further and make sure this recommendation will be used and set up. So that's the new offering I'm adding to my ecosystem, I would say, as a follow-up.
As a follow-up of the journey. Okay, yes. Oh, great.
For people who wouldn't feel like, like not strong enough, but like sometimes you get a lot of recommendation, but if some of them are like not out of your alley and like you just don't know how to do it, then it could be nice to be like, oh, and this is the person you could actually, pay to be helped, and like this person would like make it happen for you. So it's like almost like ending the journey of like, I'm stuck, I'm getting solutions, and now there's like an additional step of like, and this is how the solution can come into life if you want them.
Okay, great. And maybe a last one. If there is some community, I think there is definitely other community builders watching this video. Maybe what do you make as advice for them if they want to manage a remote workshop, maybe in terms of tools? Is it okay to make a Codev workshop just with a Zoom and a few Notion page, or maybe why do you use Circle? Because it's convenient for you, because you can let your people matchmake and share stuff. What is a perfect environment, technical environment to make remote Codev?
So I'm just using Zoom, and then from Smash, which is just the tool I'm using to send the file of the recording. Like really, like Circle and the brainstorming sessions are two different things. So yeah, Circle is like almost the office, right? It's where you go every morning to like say hello to people and chit chat and maybe like ask a question, get an answer, or answer someone's question. And that's where the community lives. But then we have the working moments, which are the brainstorming sessions. So Circle is really like the office, like where you go to like in between the brainstorming sessions. And then for the brainstorming sessions in terms of tools, it's really just Zoom. And some people ask me like, oh, if you hadn't launched in the middle of the crisis, would you would you still have used digital tools? And the answer is like, yes, because I get to do so much more meetings through digital, and only 60% of my clients are located in Paris. And I have people connecting from all over France, and also like different countries for my English speaking group. So for me, digital was never a question. It was like, I'm launching in the middle of a pandemic. It was not a question. It was like a matter of fact. So it was almost a blessing in disguise, because the timing really inspired me in terms of like, tools and how to do it. And people who've never met, who just work together through Zoom, they still feel close to each other, feel connected with one another. And when we meet in real life, which happened for like the Parisian crew, we like went for like a quick walk. I mean, masks on and everything, like the fun of 2021, right? But we all felt like we knew each other, which we had never done before. And it was funny, like people like were like really close, and it felt nice because I feel people got used to it and they learn how to work this way and still feel the connection. And on Circle, the additional tool I used in order to, add that connection and that strong link in between my members is I created, with the help of one of my members, her name is Mary, a digital cafeteria, which is like a personalized room or space. And there is an actual coffee machine. And if you click on the coffee machine, it's like a Zoom meeting that just opens, like pops up. And whoever is in the cafeteria at the same time, just is there with you. So it's kind of like you never know who you're going to meet, but you know you're going to meet another members, and there is no official organized meeting. It's just like random, like as if you were meeting people having coffee within your office. And I felt that created like nice bonding in between people as well.
So the secret sauce of Brains with Benefits, it's not Circle because it's another tool. It's certainly kind of working together, brainstorm together, Brains with Benefits for sure.
Yes.
And to have fun together, to get fun together.
It's I feel like it's not because you work with people that you have to be like, super serious 100% of the time. And that's very much my personality. I mean, Alex, you've seen me for the opening of the cafeteria. We were dancing with the creator of the cafeteria. Like
awesome.
And awesome. Like just the communication of Brain is like a little, it's like funny characters from the 60s. And then there is this like cool, I mean, obviously it's weird for me to say like, well, it's a cool tone of voice because I created it. So it would be like a little pretentious, but there is like a little bit of like, like fun in between members and like,
casual thing. Yeah.
And we're just human in addition to being entrepreneur. And like, I keep going back to saying like, if man is by nature a social animal, the entrepreneur is too. Like we need to be with other entrepreneurs and like share our issues. We're just human, I mean, like everyone else, but we have the same need as like employees. We need to connect, we need to work, but we also need to like share like fun stuff, non-fun stuff, have a coffee, have a chat. Like it doesn't have to be work 100% of the time, even though the nature of Brains with Benefits, it really started with brainstorming sessions. So started with brainstorming session, and then we just kept building on that for the community to feel connected and part of, they feel like they belong to something, which is nice. I'm slowly trying to like not be in every single meeting because I don't want the community to only be associated with me. And so I'm like trying to like withdraw a little. But at the beginning, I mean, you have to, how can I say that? Represent your brand and like just be the face of your brand. But at the same time, when you launch a community, you also have to not be the face of your brand. You know what I mean? Like the community.
Like you have to be skin in the game, and you have to prompt the thing. Yeah, you have to trigger, and after that, quickly to go back and to let your members speaking. Yeah, it's very interesting because all the community I know, which is vibrant, really the kind of community you want to speak with other people when you are 80 years old, sharing your life story with others. The typically community around casual moments. The community which organize itself around dinners, around games, around brainstorming session, actually working, leaving a common stress. And because the more I don't want to say that like this, the more the stress is, stronger the connection will be. But it's kind of true because when members live together, one common thing could be stress, could be a walking session, could be anything. The community it's not the same. The story is not the same.
So that's why I like spend a lot of time creating these moments in between the brainstorming sessions, because really the brainstorming session is like how I like interested these people in the first place. They're entrepreneurs, they have issues, they need other brains to like brainstorm with and think ideas through. That's how I started it. But now, like, to make sure they feel good and they're in the right place and they feel like they found the right community, I'm like spending time and effort into creating this like micro moments of connection in between them. So we started a book club. We created the cafeteria. Every Monday, we go to the cafeteria at 9:30 a.m. and I always come up with a different icebreaker. So, and you never know who's going to be at the cafeteria because, you never know who's in a meeting and who's free. So like last Monday, so we're Wednesday, so 2 days ago, my icebreaker was, what is your why not? You know, like we all talk about our why and why we started our business and what's our mission. But my definition of why not is, if you hadn't been an entrepreneur, what would you have been? And we all started the meeting saying, some of them didn't know each other yet. So they say quickly who they were and their, goals of the week in terms of business. But then we quickly switched into this is my why not. If I hadn't been an entrepreneur, I would have been a blah, blah, blah. And really it's what you remember. Now, I discovered things about my members. They discovered what I would have been if I hadn't been an entrepreneur. And it's fun little moments. And then they speak more, they help each other more because they know each other more. It's just, the more you know people, the more you're willing to help them. The more you trade skills, the more you spend time. And that's just human nature. It's normal. So I think if you build a community, no matter what your initial product is, you need to add this colors to what you're doing for people to belong and to create these links that will work with or without you. And that's the whole okay, as a community founder, this is when I spend time with them, don't spend time with them, and all of that. So it's finding the right balance. Just
it's hard, especially for global remote communities, because there's a lot of right now communities around core-based courses. You see what I mean? It's there. You can have programs with 7-8 boot camps. Okay. Yeah. And that creates a kind of balance between the students online and remotely. And but often there's a question on okay, but what is after? What's coming next? Yeah, and the big challenge of core-based community builders is to fill the gap between the courses, between the bootcamps. Yeah. To tease before and to create the kind of alumni feeling after. Yeah. And often we what I see, it's this kind of community builders create a kind of community okay, it's after the online courses you can meet on WhatsApp and just meet yourself and but if the community builder just make that, nothing happen, because it needs a dedicated program as well. That's not the official program. That's not the official bootcamp series. But you have to think like a program, book club, like fun fact session, because that's major.
Yeah, for sure. And I experienced, studied different communities to see how or what do they organize and how do they get it to work. And they created I saw an example of a community in which they created groups. They were supposed to be working group, but from the brand there was no organization into getting that group to gather, find the dates, find the topics, and facilitate that. And if you let people do that on their own, I'm not saying people are dumb, I'm just saying people are too busy to organize something. You need to be the starter, you need to organize it, you need to put the schedule, put the session on people's calendar, and you need to pick a topic and facilitate the session, because it is so much work. And to think that it will just happen by itself within the group and someone will magically take the lead, it's hard. And I think that's how or that's maybe how free free working groups within community. Some of my competition is free. There are groups we create groups. But if you don't have someone being that that connector within the group and that the person in charge,
magic doesn't happen.
It will die down in 2 weeks. People will be oh, I'm busy, I can't on Tuesday, and then whatever it is, and then I give that 10 days to die. That's why I don't think that's my real competition. I think it's, once you're not in it, you don't know how much work it is to actually manage brainstorming session and calendar thing and all of that. And if you want to make sure there is a community and there is some connection in between the people, you have to be the one like starting it. You have to be the energy and you have to be the starter. Like, I mean, it's called a community builder. There is the term builder. I mean, you need to build a community before it is a community.
Yeah.
Like, it is
or
something.
To find, yeah. Or to find the one who can build instead of you on the community. Your ambassadors, typically your own influencers.
Yeah. You need to like have either someone working for you or someone that has a strong interest in doing that for you, because it is not a question of like 15 minutes here and 15 minutes there. Like it's like hours of work. And speaking of like the term community builder, and I like specifically how you describe yourself on LinkedIn. I said that it's community architect, which I think is a really good word for I think you wrote that on LinkedIn. Yeah. I like the idea of like building, because it takes some work. Yeah, it takes some work, and you need to like think of rituals and to organize things in a certain way so that it will live through the months and hopefully the years, and people will stay with you. On that note, I feel lucky because half of my clients are subscribed for the year. So out of my 35 clients, half of them has a year subscription, which is really amazing, because with COVID, like you don't know what you're going to do next Tuesday. Yet some people were sure they would at least be within Brains with benefits for a year. So I think it's like a really good commitment, and it's like a nice proof of reassurance for me as like a community builder. It means like they're part of the community and they feel like they want to stay for a long time. So that feels good.
Yeah, I'm definitely convinced, pretty sure that your members will stay with you a long time. You are an amazing community builder, Justine.
Thank you.
Thanks to share with us so much things. You're very generous on this live, and
thanks, Alex.
yeah, definitely. If you want to drop an eye on your website, people should go to brainswithbenefits.fr,
because for now it's still French. I would say the best way to find me is Instagram. So it's brainswithbenefits.fr on Instagram as well, or on LinkedIn. So my name is Justine_Lucie, which is my middle name, _Lambert. So they can find me as well on LinkedIn. But Brains with Benefits on Instagram is probably the best place to go.
Okay, so if you are solo, if you are freelancer.
Yeah, I still have some. I still have a couple of like, I don't know how to say that. Anyway, some of my groups are not full. Out of my 4 working groups, I have 2 that are not full yet. So I'm still recruiting. So if people are feeling lonely within their business or on their business, and they want some other entrepreneurs to think ideas through and keep getting their business to grow, they should reach out to me, and I'll happily spend time with them to find the best working group for them, providing them with complementary brains and a lot of energy and a lot of good motivation and good vibes.
Oh, awesome. So thanks, Justine, and I say you to everybody next to the next episode of Air Party, another Ask Me a Nation session. Ciao.
Thanks so much, Alex. Bye.
Thanks. Cheers.